Hi guys, so I'm back from another 3-month break from YouTube, and I swear I'm gonna get it together one of these days, but things have just been crazy, and so YouTube kind of fell by the wayside. But I'm back today. I want to give you guys an update on life and how things have been going, how my weight loss journey has been going, and just my overall like health as well, as far as like my migraines and everything else goes. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. I want to first talk about my weight loss journey and how things have been going in that regard, because I don't know if this is like unfortunate to say or whatever, but it feels a little bit vulnerable and a little bit like embarrassing to say, but this is just real life. So I'm just going to like put it out there that I am back up to my original starting weight that I was prior to losing 60 pounds several years ago. So if you're new here, several years ago, I lost 60 pounds very quickly, actually, doing pretty much the starch solution. And while the starch solution is great, I did enjoy eating that way, it just didn't seem to be sustainable for me long term. And I do think a lot of that comes down to not planning out meals, relying on packaged foods quite a bit, and packaged foods are typically pretty calorie dense. And so I often would find myself at work just like snacking. I think part of that is to numb my feelings a little bit because work is stressful. And so long story longer, I am back up to 181 to 182 pounds. And pretty much it's something that I have to take responsibility for, because ultimately I'm in charge of what I put into my body. And I have been making not the best choices when it comes to what I've been feeding myself. Part of that comes down to not planning things out. It comes down to everything being a little bit crazy, busy, hectic, and then just adding on some other, outside stressors in life. Over the past several months, I have been definitely like bubbling in my weight. So, I'm up a few pounds, down a few pounds, up a few pounds, down a few pounds. If Shark Week is coming, I definitely go up several pounds. Just yesterday, I was 182.4 and my period started yesterday. And so this morning I was down 181.4. So like a whole pound in a day. And I really didn't eat differently than I have been yesterday. So I know it's not necessarily because of what I ate yesterday. It's more of like a hormonal fluctuation that causes like water weight retention and inflammation, because I can definitely feel the inflammation in my body. So that is kind of what's been happening. I think the lowest that I've gotten down to in the last few months was 176. And that was after I did a 36-hour water fast. So I'm not going to talk a lot about the water fast, but I will just say that my endocrinologist recommended that I do a water fast like once a week. And it needs to be on a day that I'm not very busy. I don't have a lot of those days where I'm not very busy. And so typically I'll only make it maybe like 12 to 16 hours and then I end up eating or whatever. This last time when I did it a couple weeks ago, I really pushed myself, and I was at the 24-hour mark. We were going out to dinner with friends, and I decided right then, I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna eat dinner at 8 o'clock at night. Let me just make it until the next morning. And then so I did. So once I lost that weight, because I want to say I was at like 181-ish, I dropped like 4 pounds pretty quickly overnight. And then the next day I was back up to like 178, and then here I am now a few weeks later and I'm at 181.4. So that's a hard number to be back at, because last time I lost a bunch of weight, I said I'm not going back there, but here I am. So let's talk about a little bit on like what I'm going to be doing differently going forward, because while I do like the starch solution, I know that that's not necessarily sustainable for me. And so I'm trying to pick and choose different aspects of different diets that I do like and kind of like mesh them all together, because I have to figure out what is gonna work for me long term. So what does that look like? I'm not 100% sure right this moment what that looks like, but what I am focusing on first is limiting the amount of snacking that I'm doing. And also, if I am snacking, I'm being very intentional about what I'm snacking on. So I'm trying to make it more like fruit or veggies. And if it's not a fruit or a veggie, I'm trying to lean more towards like a protein bar or something like that, where I can at least be sure that I'm getting more protein and maybe more fiber. So I will keep you posted though as I move forward with trying to figure out what works for me on what is actually working and what is not working. So one thing that I have figured out is that in the 3 to 5 days prior to my period starting, I am wanting to binge a lot more. I'm wanting to have like sweets a whole lot more, like chocolate, sun butter cups, which is like my ultimate weakness. I'm just leaning more towards like sweet treats, and I'm finding myself binging a whole lot more. And so I'm trying to figure out root cause of that as well. I think another aspect that hugely impacts how I'm feeling, my migraines, my weight loss journey, what I'm eating, all of that is my stress levels. And I'm trying my absolute hardest to not allow things at work to come home with me and affect me. But that is a lot easier said than done. So in the spirit of that and trying to get myself out of a stressful environment, I am really working hard on my own business, and I am seeing some clients privately, which is nice. And it's been refreshing to do that in the last couple of weeks. And again, like this has just been the last couple of weeks that I have started to see some clients privately. And I'm really enjoying that aspect of having my own business. And I'm still, you know, learning and figuring out the back end stuff, because that's just not something that I necessarily learned in school. And so I'm figuring out that. And so the back end stuff, a little bit stressful. Seeing clients, not that stressful, actually enjoyable. And so I'm really working towards hopefully one day being on my own and doing my own thing and not working for a major hospital system. I mean, there definitely are perks to working for a major hospital system, including, you know, paid vacation time and great health insurance and healthcare and all of that. However, I have to think like long term, like at what cost? And I don't feel like it necessarily makes me like the best version of myself, which is another thing like since the beginning of the year that I've been focusing on, because it may seem like obvious to most people, but when you're in the middle of it, it doesn't necessarily, it's not necessarily the most obvious to you in that moment, talking about myself. So I've really been reflecting, and not that I've necessarily like lost myself since coming into motherhood, because I don't think I really was taking care of myself the way that I needed to prior to motherhood, but I am trying my best to put an effort into myself so that I'm not pouring from an empty glass, so that I'm setting a good example for my daughter. And I think in order for me to be the best mom and wife that I can be, I need to spend some time working on myself, making myself feel good. I've been making an effort to, you know, have my hair down and not in a messy bun. I am making an effort to not always wear leggings and a t-shirt, although I'm in a leggings and t-shirt today. Ignore that fact. But I'm trying to make an effort towards looking more put together, because when you look put together, you can feel put together, you feel good, all of that stuff. So I'm working towards that as well. And that is just like a work in progress. So I have been very intentional with making sure that I go get my hair done when it needs to get done. Again, like I've been trying to do more of the self-care things. One of the other things that I've been doing since probably like the middle of January is using LifeWave patches. I have one here, if you can see. Essentially, these are light therapy patches, and there's different patches for different things. I'm still relatively new to it. I was introduced to it by a mom that I was working with. I was working with their child, and they recommended it to me, and I so far have seen some really good things. Like, I do feel like my energy levels are better. I feel like my brain is not as foggy. I do feel like I can be a little bit more organized in a lot of ways, just like mentally organized. And I feel like I have more energy to just like put into my business, which is probably why in the last like 6 weeks or so that I've actually been able to like have the energy to put forth effort into my business, and I'm seeing that pay off, and I'm seeing clients. The actual main reason that I got these patches, it was not for myself. I got them for my daughter because we've just been struggling, I would say like the entire school year on certain things. And in January, it kind of came to a head with the teachers that they're wanting us to make a pretty difficult decision. And so we have just been trying to figure out how best to help our daughter be the best that she can be, and improve in the areas that she needs to improve in. And one of the big things is attention for her. And not only did the mom that I got the patches from originally, did she say that she saw some improvement in attention with her kids, but I did, you know, of course I scoured Facebook and found some anecdotal evidence of similar aged children, similar situations, and seeing huge improvements in their attention span and behaviors and all of that. And I will say that we have seen some improvements, not like crazy improvements, but definite improvements that kind of surprised us, to be honest. And so we're just trying to keep on keeping on with the patches, and you know, doing what we can do to help our daughter the best that we can, which, you know, everything going on in that aspect of my life has also been stressful. And so I think that that has definitely added to, again, the stress eating, the binging, and ultimately me being back at square one. So today is March 10th, and going forward, I am making a strong effort to be intentional with everything in my life, honestly. So I'm going to be intentional about what I put in my body. I'm going to be intentional about what I feed our family for dinner. I'm going to be intentional about getting movement into my day every single day. and be intentional about taking care of myself first so that I can take care of my husband and my daughter. So anyways, if you have any questions or you know, I'm here for advice as well, you can put it down in the comments below. I'd love to chat with you guys, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.